Happy Friday, all you sports fans, and welcome to the D&D show featuring I'm Daniel and
I'm
we have
David.
what a jam-packed day we had yesterday and Wednesday. We talked to you all on Wednesday about all the wild cards going on. We briefly touched on Thursday Night Football, and what an interesting game that actually turned out to be. I was absolutely surprised at what happened. Um, Brett Rypien makes his first career start, went 19 for 31, 242 yards, two touchdowns, but did have three costly picks.
Yeah, no, he actually, he came out firing the rock. I was kind of surprised that first drive that I watched him. He kind of led his team down the field, but yeah, I would definitely say the big takeaway from the game is I'm not sure if Sam Darnold is the guy for the Jets. It just didn't seem like anything was really going his way.
He had that 57-yard run, though. I mean, he looked pretty good on that. I will say that.
Yes, he did have the one run, but I also watched him get sacked by a blade of grass. That was very
uh,
interesting to watch.
but, I mean, there were a couple bright spots in the game. That Jerry Jeudy touchdown catch was gorgeous. I would rival the OBJ catch of what 4 years now, 2017 maybe.
When he pulled the ball out of
The one-handed catch, the
yeah.
infamous one-handed catch. Melvin Gordon had a good stat line: 23 rushes for 107 yards, two touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be the mainstay in that Denver offense. I mean, they are very injury prone currently, and they had another injury Thursday night as well. Noah Fant, the tight end, went down with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, it's really been an interesting football season altogether. As we'll touch more on that on Sunday, but it's just the amount of injuries is just it's incredible. It's really unfortunate because a lot of these young players are missing out on almost. I mean, are going to be missing out on at least 6-7 weeks. I mean, for that high ankle sprain for Noah Fant.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and we'll touch more on this on Sunday when we cover all the football games. But I do think the no preseason really impacted a lot of these injuries that no one
Mm-hmm.
really came out to play right away. Everyone was kind of thrown into the mix.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
But I will say that with the injuries hitting the way they have been, I mean, you got people who get an opportunity who never really would. I mean, just look at Patrick. I mean, 113 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I know there's a couple guys who just heard that he might have a big game, picked him up on fantasy. I mean, he put up 25 fantasy points. So
I mean, what are the? I'm sure he's probably under 5% on 5% of teams or less. That's
I,
an
I wouldn't doubt it.
unbelievable.
But well, with injuries and stuff, people are shopping around trying to find receivers, and it's crazy. Crazy, you can find some gems in these rough games. 2-0-3 teams playing. You just rooting for fantasy at that point.
Right. And I mean, I didn't expect much out of the game, but it started slow. I will say that. And then it kind of ramped up, and it was actually a good game to watch. Believe it or not, I was very surprised by that.
Yes.
But we'll cover more football on Sunday. But let's go to the first game of the NBA Finals. Did you get a chance to watch?
Boy, I think Jimmy Butler said it best. I think the Heat have to play flawless basketball in order to even have a chance against this Lakers team. I honestly thought it was going to be a lot closer. I understand the two injuries, and which you'll touch on here in a second, but it's gonna be a rough one. I stand by I stand by my prediction, of 6 games, but it's looking like it might be 5, maybe even 4.
And I will say, Lakers went down early. They were down 14 early in the first, which,
Yep.
if you're a Heat fan, that was good. And then the Lakers showed up.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like they were just warming up, and then they dominated. But there is one bright spot to this game one. In the fourth quarter, Miami outscored the Lakers 31-23. So if there is any bright spot, it's that if it comes down close to the fourth quarter, they might be able to actually close out better. But we will see how that goes because the Lakers still have two of the best players in the NBA.
Exactly, exactly. And I was just going to say that I mentioned on Wednesday's show that in order to beat the Lakers, you had to stop Anthony Davis or LeBron. And Anthony Davis, I believe, had 34 points, and LeBron had 25. And 25 for LeBron is kind of a lighter day, but still, at the end of the day, that's over half the team's points, or close to it.
Yeah, but I also think LeBron did more with moving the ball around and playing without the ball.
Exactly.
So, yes, Anthony Davis had 34 points. He also had 9 rebounds and 5 assists with 3 steals to bat. However, LeBron James only had 25 points, 13 rebounds, 12 defensive rebounds. So he was playing the glass really well. And he had 5 assists. Not, you're used to seeing LeBron have 9, 10, 11 assists, but still overall a good stat line for both players in the night.
Agreed.
And I mean even Caldwell Pope had a great stat line for coming out and only playing, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I lied. He went 3 from 10 for the field, but ended up with 13 points. That's,
I mean, for KCP, that's not terrible for sure.
But I mean, if you looked at both benches, nobody really came to play.
Exactly. That it was definitely it's not going to be the prettiest series by any means, especially with Dragic and Bam being out for game 2. Hero's going to have to step up. He's going to have a 30-point game. I really do believe that Hero's going to have a 30-point game off the bench, or I mean, he might even be in the starting lineup. I didn't look at the starting lineup for tonight's game, but yeah, he's going to have a big night for them to even have a chance, I think.
I think this will basically be the momentum shift of the series. It's hard to come back, down 0-2. Only 3 teams have come back down 3-0 in the finals. 2 of those teams happen to be LeBron's teams, but he's actually never gone up 2-0 in a final series before. So this game will be very big for both teams.
I agree. And I look forward to watching that later on this evening rather. But let's get to the sport. I like to say, the season we're in, because a lot of people say it's baseball season right now. Wild card. I'm gonna go on record right here. I will be the first one to admit this. My predictions this postseason have been quite a bit off. I'm not gonna lie.
Might as well. I did. I gave Cleveland a little bit more credit than they probably deserved. But to be fair, they played really well in Game 2. It just happened to go too long for them.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was man, it was a rough one for all my predictions. Though I'm not gonna lie. I said it. I said in my game 1 that it was going to be a sweep for the Cardinals, and it looked like it was going to be a sweep after game 1. I said the pitching of the Padres was going to catch up with them, but in fact, it was actually the opposite. It looked like the Cardinals pitching kind of gave up in game 2.
Touching on that point, I don't even know what to think about that bullpen yesterday. I mean, going into the game, the Cardinals were 68-1, went up by 4 or more runs. And then you blow a 4-run lead. You pull Waino. I think Waino got pulled a little too early, and then it just went downhill from there. I'm very interested to see how Cabrera turns out the rest of the season, because that little tantrum he threw on the way out of the game really struck a nerve with me, being a Cardinal fan at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, you never want to see a player who's representing your organization necessarily do something like that. But I think I still hold true. I do believe that the Cardinals will win tonight. Unfortunately, they gave up the two home runs to Myers and Tatis Jr. And I mean, anytime you give up 2 home runs to 2 different players, you're in for a rough night overall.
And doing a little segue into that, they're the first two to have multiple home runs in a game since Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
And
So
that was against the Cubs.
it was against the Cubs. I really didn't want to say that because
no, it's okay. No, don't worry. We're gonna get into the Cubs here in a minute. Don't worry. I'll have my segment.
What better company to be in than two of the greats, in my opinion.
It's well, yeah. I mean, just think about it. Tatis Jr.
He's got a lot of years left, and he's gonna be fun to watch for the next 10, 15 years.
Definitely. Let's see. Moving on to the next game. Let's see.
We got the Reds and the Braves.
Reds and Braves. This series kind of went exactly how I thought it was going to be. Didn't think the Reds were going to have much offense. I didn't think they would set an MLB record, 21 scoreless innings, but I did think that their offense just wasn't enough to make them advance, in my opinion.
And I mean, the Reds 1 through 4 hitters, 1 for 16, 8 Ks. I mean, you gotta produce, especially in these situations.
I mean, just think about it in that first game. If they had like two more hits, I mean, they win that game in 9 innings. I mean, Trevor Bauer pitched a gem. I don't know if he could have pitched any better than what he did. And I mean, you got to score. You got to be able to score a run. Like,
you have to back up your pitcher, and that is not the pitcher's fault.
No, absolutely not. That game
Trevor,
one.
If I were Trevor Bauer, I would be absolutely irritated with my team. I remember playing, high school baseball, and if I threw a good game, but my offense didn't back me up, those bus rides or that locker room after the game, it was yelling, just getting under people's skin because I couldn't have done anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And like when you put 100% into the game, and you see somebody not necessarily not giving effort, but just like they're just having an off day, it really just kind of messes with the chemistry as well. So, that being said, we were talking about it the other day. It's looking like our statement of the NL Central being the best in the major leagues is kind of falling apart. It's unraveling with the loss of the Brewers and the Reds and the Cubs. One remains.
And after tonight, there might not be any. Yeah. And I still think the Padres are a scary team, and that offense, you give them too many chances, they will bite you. And they definitely showed that last night. And
exactly.
But I do want to touch on one thing real quick from the Reds and the Braves series. Ian Anderson made his first postseason start. 9 Ks, that ties a Braves record in 6 innings. What'd you think about his start being, a young pitcher?
Yeah, well, whenever you're looking at a player, you kind of look for the the intangibles. It's difficult to know if a pitcher, for example, can produce in big situations. And I mean, I didn't really get to watch a whole lot of this game, but I know watching highlights and stuff, he seemed to be in control for those 6 innings. I mean, I didn't really see he didn't get flustered. There's a couple of pitches that didn't go his way, but I mean, I think he definitely kept his composure on the mound, especially for a young guy.
And I only think he got behind on maybe 4 hitters that through all 6 innings. Those are impressive numbers. A lot of pitchers will fall behind. They'll start. Waino did it last night as well. Fell behind 2 batters, started walking people, and you got to keep your composure. And Anderson did just that. He went right after the hitters. He didn't give them any good pitchers to hit. And well, then again, I don't think the Reds could hit the broadside of a barn if they tried, but.
I agree. No, absolutely.
To each his own.
I couldn't agree more with that statement. What was your take on the A's game? Because I know that this series that's coming up between the A's and the Astros is going to be a fun one.
in my honest opinion, either team was limping into this series. I mean, they didn't really look like either team wanted it. They just were playing. I don't know if playing is the right word, but they felt like they were just there. You didn't really see any intensity. Um, but I mean, Oakland did score four in the fourth, and then that's all they needed. But Chicago was kind of a letdown in this
Oh,
series, in my opinion.
absolutely. And that's something I kind of saw towards the end of the season with their end of the series, or their last series of the regular season against the Cubs. I know the Cubs had some players that weren't necessarily in their starting lineup. And I mean, they kind of just laid down some of those games and kind of just didn't look like they were firing on all cylinders by any means. And I know like it's end of the season, they're already in the playoffs, so it's kind of like meaningless baseball, but still. Um, you know, I think Oakland, like you said, they kind of weren't necessarily sharp by any means, but I think this is going to be a pretty heated series between them and the Astros. I think there's a lot of
Well,
emotion on each team.
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't I didn't really touch on this yet, but you remember what happened the last time those two played?
I vaguely remember. Yes,
The hitting coach getting a 20-game
yes,
suspension. Yeah.
yes, yes.
And I was watching the highlights, and it was brought up to multiple athletic players, and they're like, "Yeah, it's not out of their mind yet." So this series is going to get intensified very quickly.
Oh, I definitely hope it does. Honestly, with my team being eliminated today, just like literally like 20 minutes ago, maybe.
Right
Um,
before we came on the
yeah,
air,
right before
actually.
we came on the air, I always look for something to drag me into the playoffs, get me invested. You know, um, I would love to see some back and forth baseball. Obviously, I don't want to see it get ugly, but hey, let them play.
Yeah. And what about the Dodgers game last night? They always get the late games, I guess because they're always the West Coast. But it's
West
just,
Coast.
yeah. Well, I say that, but the Athletics were,
Yeah.
the day game.
Yeah.
Um, Kershaw was dominant, which is to be expected at this point. He only seems to have problems pitching to the Cardinals in the postseason. So hopefully, if we make it through, we can continue that trend. But he pitched 8 innings, 13 Ks, first pitcher with 10 postseason starts without a title. What do you think about that stat?
I really honestly think that he's going to be. I'd like to consider him the Dan Marino of baseball.
Okay.
He's really really good. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I mean, he was dominant. I've seen him play the Cubs, multiple times. I mean, he can be dominant, but it's when he gets deep into a series when he needs to be able to come out and clutch, like the Madison Bumgarners, and the clutch pitchers like the Verlanders, the ones that kind of can come in and they don't necessarily like their stuff doesn't become as hittable because like I've watched series where the first time he goes in there he's dominant. Like game 1 he'll come out be dominant, but when he comes in and
It's
pitches
that
game
second game.
4
Yep.
game 4 he starts to look a little shady, and then when you need him to in like that game 6 game 7 to possibly come and be like a relief role like Madison Bumgarner did in the World Series, I just don't think he has necessarily the stuff to do that.
And I think it's more or less first time around in a series. Not even you usually see a pitcher three at bats a game before they're
Yes.
pulled, nine
Yes.
times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's you see a game, you get the first game against him, he's on. You go back, you watch the film. He doesn't come off a normal rotation rest usually in postseason due to the length of the series and only the one day off. 5-game series. He's usually pitching on 3 days rest.
Yes. Yes.
So now that being said, I don't know if that takes into account of him not getting that extra day or them just knowing what to expect from him. So he may not be as sharp because he doesn't have that extra day, but you go back and look at the film, it's sometimes his curveball's not as sharp, but his curveball was extremely sharp last night. It was that 12-6 that we are used to seeing from Clayton Kershaw.
Oh, absolutely, and that looked like the Kershaw that everybody knows. Makes him one of the most lethal pitchers in the game. Even at the age he's at, and I mean, at some point he's got to look down the road, and he's got to look at contract. He's trying to earn that last paycheck, in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, he can still pitch. I mean, there's plenty of pitchers who go, late into their years, but I think like to get money, I think this is about his last chance to, try to get as much money as he can.
I think he doesn't get the payday if he doesn't get the title. I think he has now been here too many times not to walk away with at least one. And a lot of great players don't have World Series titles. I understand that. But not as many players have had as many opportunities as Clayton Kershaw has.
And I agree. And a lot of I don't want to put it all on Clayton Kershaw because it's not all his fault.
No, I mean,
No, I know in the past, his team just doesn't show up, like you said. Like there's sometimes where he pitches really good, and then example like Ryu would just blow a game, or like it just happens. But I do agree with you to an extent about he needs to show that he can produce, and even if he produces and his team doesn't win, I think that he will get a. It may not be a monster payday. I mean, it definitely won't be a monster payday because of the age, but it'll be a decent chunk of change, in my opinion.
And I get where you come from with that. I think our opinions will differ on that a little bit. I think he's too old to not be fully worth that because we don't know what's going to happen. One injury, he could be done.
I agree, but I think a team that is kind of, I wouldn't say like, I would say that obviously a team that's in contention, but like could use an end of the like middle of rotation guy. They don't necessarily need a stud. They already have a like stud in place, but just need a, like a number 2, number 3 starter. I think that he could definitely get paid and go fill in, in some team. I don't think that he's going to get star, top the rotation money.
So I'm gonna throw this out there now, just for future. If this happens, we can say we called it here first.
Okay.
What if he ends up in the Padres organization behind Clevenger?
I mean, at this point, with the craziness of whatever they're trying to do in San Diego, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, it worked this year for sure. I want to see what this team looks like after this postseason, and see kind of what they are, what their game plan is for the next year. Because I know that with all the trades and stuff and signings and whatever, I don't know who exactly is going to be on their roster for next year. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. That's a very good possibility. I was also thinking, a team that has a ace already that could use a number 2 would be like the Reds.
The Cardinals.
I mean, hey.
Much as I hate to admit it, he might be a good fit.
Absolutely, and like I said, any team that's literally a contender that just needs another arm, I mean, he's gonna get paid. He's not gonna get paid like I've stated multiple times. He's not gonna get paid he's not gonna get paid Garrett Cole money because he's old. He's gonna get paid like end of the road Dallas Keuchel money, like that the last check he got before he yeah. Like that's probably what he's gonna be getting.
That's fair. But I mean, no one's gonna make Garrett Cole money because that dude, no one can pitch like Garrett Cole. He is one of the best people to watch pitch. And if you want to learn how to pitch, I advise you to watch him and watch how he goes through his full motion because from start to finish, it is what I was taught as a kid on how to throw.
Exactly. So. I mean, he's lethal, but that kind of brings us to our next topic of looking forward to this Rays versus Yankees series. And I know that this is near and dear to your heart.
Yes, sir. All right. Now, before we make our picks, I'm going to see if this sways you at all. Tampa Bay's 9-2 in the series of the season against the Yankees this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, 5-game series, what do you think?
Well, as you know, I was wrong about the Yankees series and the round one because like you did, I gave I gave him a little too much credit. Um, I now this here's the thing. I'm gonna give you my professional opinion and my fan opinion. My fan opinion, I believe that it's going to be Tampa in four, but my professional opinion, I believe it's going to be Yankees in four.
Okay.
I
The
do
fan
believe
wants
that
to
the
see.
Yankees. I do believe the Yankees are going to win. I think that there's just something about it being meaningful baseball. Not necessarily not that the regular season isn't meaningful, but I think that they're going to come out and they're gonna take it to the Rays. I do like the Rays. I do think they're a good team. Like, don't get me wrong. That's why I said the fan in me wants someone to win. But I think Yankees got this in four.
I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna say Tampa in five. I think the caliber of these two teams are very high, but very different play styles. Um, the Yankees are gonna throw pitching and the long ball at you. The Rays are gonna throw pitching. I mean, Tyler Glasnow is a phenomenal pitcher, and he's had a heck of a season. But they play small ball. Yeah, they can hit long balls when needed, but they're going to beat you with the doubles consistently and the singles when they need to move runners. And that's fun baseball to watch, in my opinion. Small
Absolutely.
ball. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. The game starts Monday. They are the first game of the docket on the ALDS. Now it's time to move to the second game, which is Houston versus Oakland.
Like we kind of touched on earlier, I do think that this is going to be interesting series with a lot of emotion. I think that that Houston is going to their baggage is going to catch up to them in the series, and I think that the A's are going to steal this one in five.
I agree. I don't want Houston to make it any further. You know, I'm gonna be on them probably for the rest of playoff series because they squeaked into the playoffs. I mean, their record was nowhere near what it should have been to make it. Then again,
It's crazy.
half of the Central should not have made the playoffs, but
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy how whenever you don't know what pitch is coming, how good you do.
right, it's great to see the dip in all the averages. I mean, it's
Yep.
like they're actually playing baseball again.
Hey, you
It,
know what exactly. But I do think the
welcome
A's take this one.
welcome back to Earth, Houston.
Hmm.
You know, you took a couple years off.
I agreed.
But just to wrap up the Houston Oakland series, Oakland is 7-3 this year against Houston. Um, I think it's going to be a good series to watch. Honestly, I'm hoping we see a sharp Oakland team come out for Game One, but we don't. They get a couple days off. Maybe they can get their thoughts back because, like I said earlier, that White Sox series was very not what it should have been from either team.
Yeah, I definitely think that honestly the AL side is pretty. I mean, the matchups are definitely evenly matched in my opinion. I don't think anybody's really completely overmatched where they're not gonna have a chance, like in the first rounds. But what's your opinion on the NL side?
Mm, well,
Well, now that the Cubs have been officially eliminated.
now that the Cubs are out, I think Miami, they look good. They looked a lot better than I gave them credit for. I will say that.
At me
You
as well.
know,
Yes, I take back the what I said about them not being able to win in the playoffs. Being around for a while. I should have known from watching the team that actually plays about 20 miles down the road from them about being a young team in the playoffs and the Heat. Because I was completely wrong about them whenever anybody asked me about the basketball season. So yeah, no, I think this is a good Miami Marlins team. Do I think they have the horsepower to keep fighting through? We'll have to see. I don't think so, but I was wrong first round. So Miami,
This will
if you watch this, by all means, prove me wrong.
Yeah, y'all have earned my respect. I would like to admit that. I know it doesn't mean much, but you guys came to play. You beat a very good Chicago team, something we really St. Louis couldn't do all season, but like twice. So, um, you guys have a tough task in front of you, though. This Braves team is very good. I mean, we saw it last year. They played very well in the postseason, and they are back. And that team is still, I'd say, nine tenths of the same team from last year. And now that they have the experience, they know what to expect out of them. And we will see how this plays out. But I'm very, very interested in this series.
This is a very intriguing series. I think I'm gonna go ahead and give you my prediction right away. I think that the Braves will win this in 4. I do think Miami will win a game, just because they're too talented not to. But I do believe that it's just gonna be Atlanta series.
Where did we stop? Oh.
I was just talking about I believe that it's going to be the Brave series.
Oh, I'm taking a huge risk here. I took one in the wild card. It did not end well, but I'm gonna say Miami in 4.
Really? All right. The Miami
I
man.
mean, hey, they proved me wrong, so I'm gonna take one risk. And if the Cardinals pull it out tonight, I mean, they have the right man on the mound, but this is going to be a tough game tonight.
Yes, and that brings me to our last point of the day. Obviously, we can't talk too much about the other NLDS game because we don't know who's exactly playing in it. But I'm taking. It does not matter who wins tonight. I'm taking Dodgers in 4.
Nope, I'm taking the winner.
The winner
Whoever
in 4?
wins tonight, whoever wins
5?
tonight, winner in 4. Whoever wins tonight is going to beat the Dodgers.
All right, I like that. I don't want to see the Dodgers win. I don't like the Dodgers, but hey, we're just keeping it honest. All right.
It is question time.
Exactly. This question comes from someone who's near and dear to both me and Daniel. Our good buddy Matt Gibbons from Cape Girardeau says, "Do you think that baseball will be relevant in 15 years?" Specifically, the MLB is what he said.
I read the question last night, and I spent a decent amount of time pondering it because it's not something you really think about. Baseball has been around for a long time. It is America's pastime. However, with everything going the way it is going, you have the Players Association potentially striking next year, the CBA. And the last time baseball went through a strike, we almost lost baseball. Viewership went completely down. The only reason it came back up was Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire's home run race of 97 and 98. So it might take something like that to maybe bring viewership back up because baseball has lost viewership. A lot of people think it's a boring sport. Now, 15 years down the road, I still think baseball will be here. Will it be as relevant? Maybe not as much as it was, but I still think it'll be considered one of the top sport in the country.
I agree. And I'm gonna focus this question. I'm gonna turn this into a statement to the man in charge of baseball. This one's going right for Rob. Okay. So Rob, if you want baseball to stay relevant for the next 15 years, there's 2 things that need to change. And there's a lot of people who are going to disagree with what I say in this. One is you need to somehow find a way without eliminating, without eliminating the integrity of the game. You need to figure out a way to speed up the game and make it shorter. Because in my opinion, it's just ridiculously, it's just like the longest sport, and it's really like as a sports fan, I know that there's a lot of people who don't watch baseball because it's boring to watch because it's so long. Nothing happens. It's not constant action like football. Like every snap, you could be at like it's like every snap matters. It's just I don't know how he can necessarily do it, but there has to be some way to that. And then secondly, is I'm not gonna lie, baseball is a really fun sport to play, but you have to somehow bring like the fun that the players are having onto the field, which is why I love the mic'd up sessions. I think they should have a player mic'd up every game because just like
And
being able to watch the camaraderie on the field really like brings you into the game. And I think that if you can include that and incorporate like all of the all of the like camaraderie on the field, um, I think it'll improve viewership because like I love like mic'd up sessions. I think it's hilarious. Like all of these players are freaking hilarious. Like if you ever
they're
just
just
look at their mic'd
they're
up,
just out having a good time,
that's what baseball is. Like you played like I played every summer of like I played in high school because I had fun. Like I it wasn't because like I was forced to play. Like I was just having a good time and that's like somehow that gets lost and in the transition to on screen. Like you don't see all the fun that they're having. Like every now and then you'll see like a player like slide into second base and do some kind of weird dance or something on camera, but like it just doesn't look fun. It doesn't
Okay.
look fun. That's my
I
opinion.
I like where you went, and I'd like to build off that real quick.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, People who say baseball is boring more than likely never played, and that's a very blanket statement. But there are lots of people I know that tell me, I don't understand how you can watch baseball. It's so boring. You don't know. You wait 3 minutes for a one pitch, and I'm like, it's because you've never been on the field during that time. You don't understand all the things that you have to do between pitches, whether it's a shift on the infield, shift in the outfield. You're waiting for the right pitch. You're waiting to see if he's gonna turn around and squeeze a bunt down the third base line. You don't know. It's so unexpected, and to me, it's such an intelligent sport. And I think, it's just growing up playing baseball. It's all about the people you play with. the The team is your family. Whether
Exactly.
it's y'all going to the hotel and just having crazy, just having a crazy time with each other, running around the hotel, screaming at the top of your lungs, irritating everybody else in the hotel, unfortunately.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, no.
it's that's the part of the game. I think everybody should have at least tried to play baseball. I get it. It's not for everybody. It's a very hard sport, but any sport is extremely hard to play if you don't understand it.
Exactly. And that's like that like you said, the people who say that it's boring to watch haven't played it, but like an example, I'm just going to say one more point on this before we get to close out the show, but uh like when I go to baseball games, I go to have a good time, I drink a few beers. But like when I watch the games and actually like indulge myself in the game, I like call pitches. I like I sit here and like, all right, let's see, it counts 101. I bet he's gonna throw a curveball here. I try to steal, not necessarily steal signs, but like I try to,
You try to learn,
guess. I try to
right? Yeah.
guess the what the coach is gonna do. Maybe a situation where a hot hitter, might have him bunt if he's in a slump. It's just fun because like it's fun for me because and you obviously because we both played for nearly our
A
entire life.
long time, yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do as a kid was back at Old Bush. There was a certain day where they gave you old-fashioned scorecards, and you've got to keep score.
Yes, I've done that before at minor league games before.
And
That I've went to. It's
it keeps your interest because you know and for those of you who have never kept score at a baseball game, yo,
yeah.
that's hard. Like it's
That's the thing. I've coached little league, so like I have to do score, keep score for your own team and everything, and so like it's it keeps you indulged in the game and really makes you pay attention. in all aspects. But I think overall we're pretty much in agreements. They need to show the players, why they play. They don't just
I
need
do
to show
hate
the product on the field.
I do hate the pitch clock though. That to me, you're eliminating so many different things. Somebody who has a long delivery is going to have to shorten it up, and it's going to throw them completely off. And I think it's bad for baseball.
Yeah, and that's why I said they need to find a way to make the game quicker, but not ruin the integrity of the game. That's my overall statement.
That is hard. That is going
And
to be hard.
it's a hard
And I
thing to
hope
do.
they-
And that's why I told straight to Rob. I wasn't like telling the managers. I went, "This is Rob. If you see this,
Yeah, Rob, let us know what you think about this. By the way,
yeah, exactly."
totally give us a call sometime. We're ready to be called up to the majors.
But yeah, anyway, coming back, wrapping it back in. But it's gonna be a fun. It's gonna be a fun next couple days of baseball and basketball, and then we will be back with you guys on Sunday morning with our Sunday special for all things football, and for all those late fantasy moves, and we're also going to be unveiling our new pick'em that we're doing weekly from now on. So it should be pretty interesting. And I'm
We're
looking
still
forward.
trying to figure our fantasy stuff out too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it wasn't for Indianapolis's defense, I would be 1-2. So shout out to them. So
and I did lose my matchup last week by 100 points, but I don't know who I lost that to. No.
Yes. Yeah, but anyway, it was a pretty eventful day in sports. So I don't know. Do you have anything else? I think we about covered everything.
Last thing I gotta say is enjoy your Friday. Have a good weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful weather. Don't forget to subscribe below, like the video, leave us some good comments. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you would like to see us do.
Absolutely, and just to reiterate what he said. Everybody have a safe weekend, and we'll catch you on Sunday.